Assalamu alaikum. This is Moeed Pirzada Najma with an altogether new platform, JVS Dialogue. We have been thinking of creating this for quite some time with an altogether different thinking. The idea was to engage the international expertise in the universities, think tanks, authors, writers, not necessarily on issues related to Pakistan, and also to reach out and connect with the second and third generation Pakistani origin diasporas in North America, UK, and Europe, where the younger people are not necessarily very comfortable with Urdu and not very well versed with Urdu. But today, by necessity, the topic has to be on Pakistan, where the arrest of Imran Khan has created an altogether new situation. And we'll also be interested to discuss how this is being watched and monitored and reacted to by the international media. To you, Najma.
Well, Moeed, I think you put that very well. International media is really important, as you know, and that's where I'd like to start from. The coverage of the international media, of course, it has been covered. The event was covered by Imran Khan. The international media has been talking about it for quite some time, that, they were expecting him to get arrested. Now that he's finally been arrested, they have covered it. But what I found very interesting was the headlines from the international media. I mean, if I read out to you what Al Jazeera, for example, wrote, they wrote 3 years jail sentence for corruption. Another headline from Al Jazeera was illegally selling state assets. And what I found interesting is, so apparently Imran Khan has been illegally selling state assets. So therefore, is Imran Khan corrupt is one question. But before that, what I'd like to get is your thoughts on how you think about the international media's coverage so far.
I was very pleased by, I was a bit unnerved by the way Al Jazeera picked up and created the headline for itself for this news, though the news story itself is not as negative as the headline is. On the other hand, the story by Christina Goldbaum in New York Times by Salman Masood and Christina Goldbaum was very positive in the sense that you seldom see New York Times coming up so clearly on the Pakistani politics as to what is really happening. In literally every paragraph, they were making it clear that there is, in fact, a confrontation going on between Imran Khan and Pakistan's military establishment. New York Times didn't bother into the niceties of identifying Shahbaz Sharif and PDM and other. They were very clear that there are two real forces inside Pakistan. One is Imran Khan and his party, and the other is the military establishment. And military establishment is trying to prevent Imran Khan and his party from the electioneering and from participating in the forthcoming elections. So, and similarly, the other, I think there was a realization by the international media, even if the stories were not very detailed, that the confrontation, the real confrontation and the match in Pakistan is between Imran Khan and the military.
The Wall Street Journal had a very similar story written by Waqar Gilani and Said Shah, where they also showed that the antagonist in this scenario was not PDM, but was in fact the military. And I feel that on balance, the Wall Street Journal article was very balanced. It explained the case very well compared to most other international newspapers, which did not explain the case very well. And in fact, it was clear they didn't even understand what the case was. So
the one reason could be that Saeed Shah, that he has been living in Islamabad. He's of Pakistani origin. He's a Britisher, but of Pakistani origin. He speaks the local language. And the way he can understand the Pakistani politics and dynamics, perhaps many others who have a passing reference and relationship with Pakistan will not be able to understand in that way. But for your clarification as well, and for anyone who's listening, this is in fact such a ridiculous case. I mean, the way it has been presented is that somehow or the other, Imran Khan had a reason to hide the monies or the funds that were generated from the articles like the watches and the others, which he obtained on a 50% payment from the Tosha Khana, and then sold it, and has not necessarily fully made the full disclosure in the annual forms of the Election Commission.
So just to address that particular point for our audience, and especially, second generation or maybe non-Pakistanis, is he legally allowed to sell things from the Tosha Khana? So if he acquires a gift which he pays for, is he legally allowed to sell it or not?
Of course he is. I mean, this is not even the charge against him. Of course,
so Al Jazeera got it totally wrong when they said that he's illegally sold state assets.
Oh, no, this is pathetic. I mean, I missed it altogether. If Al Jazeera has construed in that fashion, this is so pathetic. The point is, once any dignitary or a politician or executive, and by the way, military generals and the army chiefs have got more gifts from Tosha Khana because, of course, most of the gifts are actually not given by Western governments. Most of these gifts are given by the Middle Eastern potentates and dictators in the
But
government.
there's a culture of
And
giving.
it's their culture. I mean, expensive gifts are never given by the American government or the British government or the Canadians. I mean, they probably give very token gifts. So the expensive gifts that are really these cars and these Fords, these guns, and these BMWs and Mercedes, expensive watches and so on, which are worth hundreds and thousands of dollars, they're always given by Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, and other kind of things. And by also all these Middle Eastern countries, by necessity, they're very clear that the real power inside Pakistan is Pakistani military and the army chief, or the air chief, and basically the army chief. So the nature and the quality of the gifts, or the frequency of the gifts which they give to the army chief, or the army officers, is far more superior, and more in frequency as compared to they ever give to the civilian prime ministers. And this is a big scandal that the gifts that have been given to the army officers have never been revealed, and there's not any scandal as to what really happened to the expensive gifts which the army officers have been cashing on from the Tosha Khana for the
But
past.
coming back to Imran Khan's case, can you give us briefly the details of this particular case for which he's been convicted?
You see, the case was actually sent by the Speaker of the National Assembly somewhere in the middle of 2022 when the government came. I think immediately this was the first case they made up somewhere around May and June. And then the Election Commission had charge sheeted and developed the case against Imran Khan in October 2022. They decided the case against him under Article 62(1)(p). In fact, they wanted to decide they wanted to disqualify him for being not honest and Sadiq or Amin under Article 62(1)(f). And then they learned in between. They were so excited and they were in such a hurry to disqualify him that they totally forgot that while they have got some kind of status as a court, they don't really are not a Supreme Court or a High Court, and they can't really use Article 62(1)(f), which is generally used for the disqualification of the member of the parliament. So instead, they ended up making a decision under Article 62(1)(p), and then they learned that it is totally ineffective unless it is actually done by a court. So they again bypassed a magistrate. The rule was, as per the Article 93 of the Criminal Procedure Code of the Pakistan, that they had to forward this through a magistrate. A magistrate had to first examine the documents and the papers and to verify and authenticate. But they bypassed that and sent it straight away to the additional session judge. And the case basically is this, that they said that in one particular year, the speaker had sent the case that in one particular year, 2018-19, Imran Khan had not fully disclosed the gifts he had received from the Tosha Khana. He didn't make a full disclosure. The Election Commission, on its own sweet will, expanded that to 3 years. So they turned that into 2018-19, 19-20, 20-21, and they said he has not made the full disclosure in one particular year. So now, before I go into the defects of this case, what the case is. The case basically, in fact, I have to explain the defect as well, because the case has been made in such a way as if Imran Khan had a reason. There could be number of reasons. There could be a discrepancy between the forms of the Election Commission and between the Federal Board of Revenue or the income tax, because the way the tax forms or the disclosure forms are made anywhere in the world, sometimes you do not have columns to make a full disclosure of everything. Now, the Election Commission says that Imran Khan has not mentioned that the monies of the funds he has received are because of the gifts. First of all, they say the gifts are not mentioned there. Then it is explained that by the time the forms were filled, the gifts had been sold. So the gifts were converted into liquid assets, and the money.
He bought them for 21 million rupees and he sold them for 58 million rupees. So where's the missing 30
and
plus?
The bank account showed 30 million rupees, but the tax returns also show that he had some 28 million or 21 million in cash. And some of the gifts which he had received, he had further gifted other people, which has also been explained. So in the end, the Tosha Khana's, the ECP's case was that Imran Khan has not written the word Tosha Khana. Now that was a very ridiculous situation because in the end, when Imran Khan said, when he answered 35 questions, he said that his accountants were chartered accountants who have been filing his tax returns for the past 40 years, can actually come appear in the court and can explain this discrepancy. But as we all know, that the judge never allowed Imran Khan to present his witnesses and actually rejected the possibility.
Right. So this is what I wanted to ask you, that Imran Khan's own lawyers have called the whole process a kangaroo court trial. Within hours of the conviction, some of the most senior lawyers in Pakistan, Salman Akram Raja, Itazaz Ehsan, brought out issues that they thought, which meant that the due process of law was not followed. What was that particular due process of law? I mean, if you can highlight some of the key issues where due process of law was not followed.
The number of issues, Salman Akram Raja has actually done a brilliant thread on the Twitter, which is several steps thread, but he has basically, his thread is actually about the flaws in the final decision by the additional session judge, that is Humayun Dilawar. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the other flaws, of which Atazaz Ehsan and the others have been talking, the flaw number one is this, that Imran Khan was elected from Mianwali. So if you have to bring a case, you have to bring it in a district court in Mianwali. Right. And they have brought the case in Islamabad because they can control the judges better in Islamabad rather than the Mianwali, where Imran Khan is far more popular. Otherwise, this case had to be heard by a session judge, a court of first instance and trial court in Mianwali, because he's elected from Mianwali, not from Islamabad, on the seat. The second issue is this: when the Election Commission sent the case, they had to send it to a magistrate as per the section 93 article of the Criminal Procedure Code, which has not been followed. Then there are other flaws. For instance, he had the right of defense and he had to present his witnesses, which has not been allowed. Also, Imran Khan and his lawyers twice challenged the credibility. They said that the additional session judge is biased against them. They also came up with the evidence that the additional session judge has been personally on his own Facebook account making fun of Imran Khan, along with guns, has been showing him as a terrorist in 2014, and so on. And then the judge said, well, this Facebook page belongs to me, but I have not done these posts. So the very simple thing was that the court or the Federal Investigation Agency should have sent an email to Facebook, because these posts were deleted only in the last few days.
Well, the judge should have recused himself.
So basically, the judge should have recused himself. Not only the judge, but Imran Khan's lawyers and Imran Khan had also objected to the Chief Justice of Islamabad High Court, because things have been moving like a ping pong between the Chief Justice of Islamabad High Court and the additional session judge. On two separate occasions, the additional session judge was sent back from the Islamabad High Court with the instructions that you need to examine the issue of the maintainability, which was the main accusation. And twice instead of actually referring this case to another additional session judge, the interesting thing was that the Chief Justice of Islamabad High Court sent it back to the same judge. And twice the same judge decides that it is maintainable. And the third time, he even doesn't examine it for maintainability. This is where the Salman Akram Raja's criticism comes into play, because he says once the High Court had sent it back for re-examining and rehearing to see the maintainability, how could the additional session judge decide the issue of maintainability without hearing Khaja Haris, which was the lead lawyer for Imran Khan? And in this particular case, he was never heard. And without hearing the lawyers, they've decided once again the maintainability.
Sorry, in terms of the international coverage or international government's response that we've received on the case, we've seen a muted response from the United States White House spokesperson saying this is an internal matter for Pakistan. Do you think PTI could have expected anything different from the Americans, given the fact that last year they were accusing them of meddling and regime change?
This is the governments and superpowers are not that emotional. I mean, they have to stick by their own professed principles in international politics. And in case of United States, upholding the principle of democracy, free and fair, transparent elections, the people's right to vote, freedom of expression, these principles are fundamental to American Constitution and American way of life. To assume this thing that just because one of the 180 countries, Pakistan being one of the country, and all the 180 countries, there are politicians and political parties that keep on attacking the United States, because America is such a big power, humongous power, that touches the lives and the politics of every country, which the American academics and experts understand. So just because PTI or Imran Khan and Pakistanis have been reacting, whether correctly or inaccurately, towards United States, doesn't necessarily mean that United States is going to react like a human being. So there is something more to the fact that the Biden administration does not want to interfere or doesn't want to be seen putting pressure on the present regime in Pakistan. This is how it has to be interpreted. It cannot be seen like that they're just upset and they're angry or they're passing through blue moods. It is not possible. I think it can be interpreted by the fact that the Biden administration uh, doesn't have any intention to put pressure on the mixed kind of regime in Pakistan.
Then, on the other hand, we've seen a tweet by John Bolton, Ambassador John Bolton, who was the former President Trump's national security advisor, where he said the conviction was an unnecessary step towards instability and crisis in Pakistan. Criticism like this, does it mean anything?
It is not only John Bolton is, of course, a Republican. He's not in the government anymore, but many Democratic members of the House, which are often referred to as congressmen, and the senators from the Democratic Party have also expressed their reservations on what is happening in Pakistan. For instance, the congressman Brad Sherman, Jim Costa, and so many others. When I attended one of the seminar in the Congressional Building, Ribbon Office Building on 26th of July. But of course, none of them. These are important voices within the system. But the real thing is the Biden administration. The Biden administration has the control on the State Department, has the control on the military and the intelligence, and we haven't seen any kind of criticism coming from the Biden administration, and that is the real important thing.
Going back to Pakistan, Maryam Aurangzeb, who's the Pakistan's information minister, she said his time is up, referring to Imran Khan. We haven't seen the thousands of people come on the streets that we saw after May 9th. Do you think Imran Khan cried wolf too many times? Has he lost his luster? Is his time up? Why did people not come on the streets this time so far?
Well, politicians' time is never up through coercive measures in Pakistani history. If Pakistani history is any witness, then the state has used coercive strategies against the politicians, and it has seldom worked. It hasn't really worked. And Maryam Aurangzeb is not a very serious person. She has been saying such things for the past 16 months anyway. What is important, why the people didn't come up? I didn't expect people to come at all. I mean, there have been few hundred arrests. I've seen by different news items, but 100 people arrested there, 100 people arrested there in different cities. But I think no one in the right mind would have expected thousands of people to turn up at this point because of the way the military cracked down on the protesters on the May 9th and the way almost apparently 25 people have been shot dead with shots in the head. There is a lot of anger inside Pakistan, but people realize that they're facing one of the worst authoritarian regime in the history of Pakistan. What is happening in Pakistan has not happened in Pakistan since 1980s. Even in 1980s, the martial authorities never killed scores of people. They were rough, they did punishments, they were lashing of the journalists and all that. But this kind of iron hand, what has been seen now, has not been seen before. Now, that doesn't mean that people are happy or content and they have forgotten Imran Khan. When I talk to people who are in the government, off the record, they confess and they have told me that Imran Khan's vote bank is intact. So the vote bank is intact, but people do not have the courage. They fear the consequences. They're not coming on the roads.
PTI is one of the world's largest political parties. In a recent analysis done, it's shown to be around 10th largest in the world in terms of the numbers of people who actually support it. At the same time, the Supreme Court bar in Pakistan, with regard to the conviction, have made a very strong statement, and it's worth reading. But the last couple of lines I'll just read to you, which is that the decision appears to be aimed at excluding political leaders from participating in the upcoming elections. Do you see what's happening to Imran Khan as pre-poll rigging, and do you see elections happening in Pakistan?
Definitely. Imran Khan's arrest and disqualification falls clearly in the category of a pre-poll rigging, especially if the elections have to be held very, very soon. And this was on the cards. Imran Khan had warned of it in several of his video speeches. Other peoples have been predicting this, that the regime has not been successful in crushing Imran Khan's party and the opposition. Despite the brutal crackdown of the 9th May, they were still not over with PTI's support. After 9th May, two political parties have been launched. One was the Istehkam-e Pakistan party of Jahangir Khan Tareen and Aleem Khan in Lahore, which is called IPP, which never took off, and it was literally, an aborted baby, which is dead on arrival. And same was the fate of the second political faction, a party that was launched No one even remembers the name of that party. I think there was some sort of PTI something that was launched in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa by the former chief ministers, Parvez Khattak and Mahmood Khan. And now no one even remembers what was the name of that party. So both the experiments have actually failed. So now the next experiment is that you have to show to the Imran Khan support the look. We got him. We disqualified him. He's in jail. We have put him into a 6 by 8 feet cell. He's finished, like Mariam Aurangzeb says. But I think he's still not finished. I think Imran Khan's charisma is still very much alive. Now, the fear is this, that they can even kill him. I mean, after all, someone did try to assassinate him on 3rd November 2022. But I think the battle for the Pakistan's future is still on.
We thank you for your cogent description of the events, and I hope that we were able to provide some kind of light on what's happening in Pakistan. I look forward to us doing it again.
Thank you.